Meanwhile, this guy ran for U.S. president back in 2008. You probably remember him. And now as Mitt Romney tours the United States talking about his new book, RT's Christine Frizzau tells us his language is sounding strangely familiar, and she joins us now to tell us why that is.
Well, Lauren, there's a couple things going on here. First of all, Mitt Romney is touring the country, but he's also making speeches. He's talking about his book, but what we heard today might as well have been a campaign speech. Mitt Romney spent about half the time criticizing President Obama on the job he's done so far. The other half of the time, he spent talking about the greatness of America.
If it wasn't 2010, you might think he was making a campaign speech.
We have to be serious in communicating to the American people and the world that we will end the level of deficit spending. I think this has been the most anti-investment, anti-entrepreneur, anti-employment, anti-job agenda since the days of Jimmy Carter.
Instead, former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney is touring the country, talking about his book, and where he goes, many follow.
He's eloquent, he's experienced, he's a patriot.
I think he understands the business part of the country and the economy.
We were just really impressed with him in 2008 and wish he could have gone on further.
That wish could come true, with many already using words like Republican frontrunner to describe Romney. As for what people like about him,
I just think he is standing for American traditional values.
I love his moral values. I mean, he married his college sweetheart, and they're still married.
Romney himself spent most of the speech at the National Press Club criticizing President Obama's policies and practices.
Another criticism Mitt Romney has of U.S. President Barack Obama, he says President Obama's been on an apology tour in which he's been saying sorry for America. Romney calls his book No Apology. Inside, he says he makes the case for American greatness.
But he also says that greatness is threatened.
I'm concerned and convinced that what's happening in Washington, not just this year, but over the last decades, is slowly but surely stripping away that spirit of enterprise and innovation and creativity and personal freedom.
And without saying so directly, Romney implied he may have the tools to fix it, serving up ideas and keeping his name and face in the public eye.
He's a great contender for the Republican nomination, and I'm kind of rooting for him. I hope he gets it.
The National Press Club today packed with people who support Mitt Romney, many of them Mormon, as the Romney family is as well, and hoping that they're witnessing the start of what could be another campaign for president.
Christine, in that report, people were throwing around terms you mentioned, Republican frontrunner. We're not even to the 2010 U.S. midterm elections. President Obama has been in office just a little over a year. Is it really possible that this guy is campaigning for 2012 indirectly already?
Do you ever wonder if maybe this country is sort of like election happy? Because it seems like as soon as one ends, we build it up so much, and then it ends, and then we're like bored or something. Because people are always talking about what's next, what's in 4 years, what's in 6 years. I remember we saw this when Scott Brown won in Massachusetts. The next day you saw a lot of articles about his prospects for re-election several years after. So it's hard to tell, but what we do see here is a Mitt Romney who's not going away. He's not going back into the private sector. He's making sure that his face is out there, that people don't forget who he is, and he's got this book, as we saw with Sarah Palin and her book tour. He wants to make sure Americans know who and what he stands for.
And you mentioned some of the people were there. We saw some in your package. I guess it's not surprising that Mormons were there supporting him. He is a Mormon himself. But was there anybody unexpected there? Give us more of a picture of the crowd.
There wasn't really anyone unexpected there that I noticed, at least. Pretty much it was your standard, a lot of Republicans there, a lot of people kind of feeling it out, trying to figure out, between the Tea Party movement and a lot of stuff that's going on, we see the Republicans trying to figure out what road to take next. Who is going to be their face? Who are they going to back in 2012, which does seem still a long way off. So I think we had a lot of curious people here, people who weren't necessarily Romney supporters, but just people who wanted to see what it was all about. And then, yes, you have a lot of Mormon people, a lot of people who say, wow, in our lifetime, we could maybe see a president that shares the same faith as us. So kind of a mix.
And really quickly, because we're almost out of time, but just because you mentioned the Tea Partiers, were there any Tea Party activists there?
Certainly they weren't holding any signs, but you just never know because lately they seem to be everywhere.